All right. Today I've got a special treat. I've got the SP9A1 Strybog, which many of you have seen me use on here and know. It uses a traditional blowback system, meaning it uses the weight of the bolt and the power of the recoil springs to hold the bolt closed long enough to delay the action to safe levels before a round ejection. I'm sure many of you already know this, but I'll go ahead and explain it anyway. That can mean that the bolt, with all that weight going backwards, since it's so heavy, creates quite a bit more recoil impulse. Also, it can mean that the bolt opens faster than some other types of actions out there. And if, I don't know how well you all know, but the longer we can keep the bolt closed, the more gas we can get going to the suppressor than coming out the bolt area, which should mean with higher numbers at the bolt area, the more gas we have coming out the bolt. So, never before, I don't know of any platform that they've done this system and then turn around and redone the weapon, which I now have the SP9A3, which is identical to the SP9A1, other than it uses a radial delay blowback system. So we really get a great apples to apples here comparison of the two systems, where before you would have had to have used two different firearms, like maybe the MP5 versus a B&T whatever APC to compare them. So now we got a really good way to compare the two different types of blowback systems. It uses basically a cam to hold the bolt closed longer, delaying that blowback. So I've got two different suppressors on each of these guns. We're going to go ahead and use some 158 grain PPU subsonic. And first we're going to shoot 5 rounds out of the A1. And then we'll shoot 5 rounds, and it's got an 8-inch D tube can I built a while back on it. And then I'll turn around and I'll shoot the A3. It's got a full-size dead air Odessa on it, and we'll get muzzle numbers. Then I'll switch back and we'll go ahead and we'll get at ear numbers. And then I'll put the cans on, I'll switch cans to different guns, and we'll do it all over again. We'll crunch these numbers at home, and we'll see each other at the very end to go over what we learned, what delayed blowback's all about, what it does for the shooter, and what it does for bystanders in comparison. All right, so let's get started. Oh, and also, I have yet to shoot the delayed blowback gun. So, if it has any hiccups or anything, you'll be the first one to know just right with me. Okay, so we've got the D-tube on here. We've got our 5 rounds. I haven't shot this one in a while, so I don't really know what to put my meter at, but I'm pretty sure the 120 scale should work. You know what? Just in case the first round pops a little higher, we'll put it in the 130 for the first round. All right, let's do this. One, two, So 126.5. Go ahead and drop down to the 120s. 124.5. 126. 127.75. Last round held open at 125.25. All right, not bad. Now while that cools off, we'll switch to the A3. I'm going to guess, and this is my hypothesis, that the muzzle numbers will be a little higher overall. Now, of course, we can't compare these two cans yet. And that the ear numbers will probably be lower. All right, so here we've got the A3 with the Dead Air Odessa. We got 125.5. 128.75. 129. 127. Last round held open. 126.25. Okay, now let's get at ear numbers. Loading up a couple mags. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, instead of moving the meter, I'm going to move myself. And I'm going to rotate it on its base so I can see it. Now the only problem here is I think I'm going to try to shoot it in a way that hopefully my rounds eject without tinking on here. But here we go. We've got roughly a foot between my ear and the meter. We'll see what it does here. I've got 137.25. 138.75. 140. Let's find out if that round tinking is having any difference. $137. 138.5. Last round held open. Okay. So I don't think that brass was having any effect. Yeah, no way it was doing anything. So I could redo this, I guess, real quick if you guys want. Though I think we'll use the first set of numbers for our actual averages and the graph at the end. But like Ronald Reagan says, trust, but verify. Okay, so meter right off to the side of my ear here, shooting into a stump, ways off, and I've got 134 1/4. $138 1/2. 137 1/4. 139 1/4. 139 1/4. Last round held open. Okay, so I think that first set of numbers was just fine. So now we'll switch to the radial delayed blowback and see what happens. Same position, right off my ear here. We're gonna shoot into the same place we shot that last one. Got 137 1/4. 137 3/4. 137 1/2. 138. 136 1/2. Alright, now we're going to switch the suppressors to different, we'll change guns, and we'll redo all of this. Alright, we've got our can switched to the D-tube now on the SP9A3 and the dead air on the A1. I also want to take this time for a brief commercial announcement. If you ever wanted to send me something to drink, Orange Mango Body Armor. Highly recommended. It's even good hot. What drink is good hot? Minus coffee. Coffee's good cold too, with ice and some cream, vanilla. Anyway, let's get back to work here. Alright, so like in the last vid, we're going to start off with the A1 again. Numbers at the muzzle. Touchdown. Go ahead and check my distance here. Check I'm still aligned, which I am. Alright, let's do it to it. So, here we go. SP9A1, Dead Air Odessa. Let's go. $128 1/2. 128 1/4. 126 1/4. 126 1/2. Last round held open at 129 1/4. All right. Now, A3 with the D-tube. See what she's doing. 122. 126 and a half. 127 and a quarter. 124 and 3/4. Last round held open at 125. I have noticed that even though they're identical guns with identical triggers, the trigger on this one is quite a bit heavier than my other. It might just be that it's not worn in, but that's something noticeable. Also, I haven't really gotten to shoot this yet, obviously shouldered, so it's a little hard to tell about the recoil impulse yet. But I'll probably pop off a mag or two once the video is done, just to get a feel for it. But anyway, let's move on to add ear numbers. So we'll go ahead and load up another mag. The A1 again, this time for add ear. Which means we're going to move over here. And again, the meter will be right here off my ear, about, I don't know, I can measure it when we're done here, but maybe a foot. Be in the 130 scale. Let's see what happens. 136. 140. 139. 139 and 3/4. 138 and 3/4. And that was the last round, and it held open. Now we'll switch to the A3 and see what we get. Got a gust of wind here, we'll wait for it to die. And there it goes. Okay. Got 135. 137 and a half. 136. 135 and 3/4. 136 and 3/4, and that was last round, and it did hold open. Pretty interesting. I'm not really sure what the numbers show at this point. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. But I'll meet you back at the house. We'll crunch them, we'll put them on a graph, and we'll talk about it. All right, welcome. We are at home. And I have made a chart, as you can see. We've got our gun, the can, the first round pop number, average with the first round pop included, average without the first round pop included. So let's start with the Dead Air Odessa. At the muzzle, and we'll do this. We'll cover up the add ear numbers to make things a little easier. But at the muzzle, with the A1, we got 128.5 for first round pop, but we got a lower number with the A3 with the radial of 125.5. However, our overall best average without first round pop is the A1. But if you factor in first round pop, it's the A3. So the A3, and we're talking barely. I mean, look at that. That could be that could be a fluke. So the way I'm reading this, the A3 gave us the radial delay, gave us the lowest first round pop, and basically the best overall average at the muzzle. Now let's look at the add ear numbers. Now, at the ear, we get a similar but slightly different story. We get our best first round pop number with the A1 of 136. But overall, we get both averages come out the best for the A3. So reading this correctly, it looks like the radial delay system not only gave us better first round pop numbers for the most part, at least at the muzzle, but overall better suppression averages. Okay. By how much? Well, not a ton. We're talking anywhere from about a decibel when it comes to averages with first round pop. And we're talking, pretty close. We're basically almost dead the same for our withouts. But if you go with our at ear numbers, we got, about a decibel and a half less at ear number. So, pretty interesting. Definitely a gain. Definitely a win for the radial delay blowback system. But that's just one can. So let's look at another can. That's why we did two. So let's look at, again, just our muzzle numbers. So again, the A3 takes the cake, this time dramatically, with the first round pop number. That could be an error, because that is pretty low compared to the other readings we got. But it is what it is at this point. Again, we're seeing about the same overall for our average difference of about a decibel. The A3 takes the cake again. However, the A1, if you take first round pop out of the equation, slightly better again than the A3. We saw that last time. So it looks like the delayed blowback is really helping us, for whatever reason, getting some of our first round pop down and helping get us our overall averages better. That was at the muzzle. Now let's look at the ear. And it dropped. So at the ear, we once again, our best first round pop number is the A3, but this time by over 2 decibels. And that's at the shooter's ear, where it matters most to a lot of you guys. And then again, we get our lowest averages by roughly 2 decibels again at the shooter's ear with the A3. So it's definitely can dependent on how much the system helps. The Odessa is a can that doesn't suppress
nearly as much as some other cans out there. So it looks like when you get a can that does a little bit better, the differences really start to shine even more. Here's your overall chart, just in case you guys wanted to see. The pluses are the winnings for the at ears, the stars are the winnings for the muzzle. Overall, to me, it looks like the A3 definitely was the way to go. Looks like radial delayed is helping pretty much across the board, which was surprising to me. I figured it was only going to help in one category. You learn something new every day. That's why we're doing this. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, share it, tell people about it, donate if you can. That's how we afford this kind of stuff. We will see you next time for another video. Talk to you guys later.